Richard McLeod is known as the History Hound and gives countless volunteer hours to bring history alive to the residents of Newmarket and beyond. And that's worthy of, he's worthy of recognition, as you will see. So, Rick, a few things. If somebody walks up to you and says, why are you doing all the history behind my time? Why don't you just pick it up from where I am?
Well, I mean, I think we all would like to think that history started with our birth.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the case. So the reason that I go so far back is because, a lot of people will say, well, our history started when the Quakers arrived or when Mr. Hill first arrived and built his mill downtown. But that's not the case. For a millennium, there were First Nations people here living very happily and were well organized. So I think we owe it to them to go back as far as possible and sort of give people an idea of how we ended up the way we are.
Okay, good. So I have a couple of things here. Things you've done, possibly. So I'll just mention something, then you can talk about it.
Sure.
The other thing is I'll get into some background on your life in Newmarket way back.
Okay.
Okay? So, maybe we'll start with that. Background. Earliest memories of parents and home.
Earliest memories. Well, the older I get, it's interesting. Older I get, the less I can go back in time and remember clearly. But I would say probably I remember being probably about 4 or 5. I can go back to 4 or 5. Remember certain instances anyway of things that happened to me. I was lucky because my grandparents and my parents talked about history. My extended family talked about history, so I think that's probably where this all got started.
Yeah. Okay. Elementary school, favorite subject or teacher?
Well, obviously Canadian history. Favorite teacher. This may surprise a lot of people out there, but I would say Miss Denny. Miss Denny brought it all together for me.
Okay. And who, if anybody, was the person that changed the course of your life?
Well, I would say from the heritage point of view, I would say certainly my uncle George Loosby. He had been doing this for a long, long time, and he got me interested. He gave me little jobs to do, little research jobs to do, running around.
Okay.
But he had such an enthusiasm for it that I think it...
That rubbed off?
Yeah, it rubbed off on me, exactly.
Good. What's the most stressful experience you ever had, lived through?
I would say probably 1968, I had 4 relatives die. So it seemed to me in 1968, all I did was go to funerals.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was a stressful time. I've always found the whole concept that we don't live forever a very difficult concept to accept.
Yes. Okay.
To be honest with you.
Okay. What's the most memorable moment of your life?
I think probably my graduation with my first degree from university. I think that would be.
What would make that stand out?
Well, I think it stood out because I think I wasn't sure that I could do it. I'm one of those people who needs to do something to prove that you can do it. I wasn't, to be quite honest, looking back, really enthusiastic about going to university. I had this burning desire in grade 13 to go out there and make my first million. And I thought, the idea of taking 4 years or delaying that for 4 years while I went to school, I thought maybe wasn't a great idea. But then again, I was lucky because I got a few scholarships.
No, that would help.
And being the type of person I am, I thought, free money.
Okay. The most beautiful place you ever visited?
Probably, as far as physically beautiful, I would say probably Brazil. I love Brazil.
Okay.
And the reason I emphasize physically beautiful is that, it was clear, you know, when I went there, and I'd been there twice, that they had some issues as far as, you know, other things that were going on. But as a paradise, it is pretty much all that one could expect.
Okay. You have a lot of job experience and hobbies. Well, job experience particularly.
Right.
You got some sports you like. I know you love baseball.
Well, I played baseball. You know, even though I wasn't a particularly gifted athlete, I loved playing sports. Now, you know, to be fair, most of that was because I liked the companionship of team sports.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wasn't too much into individual sports, but as far as team sports, I love playing team sports.
Good.
And I think it built me, for me, it helped me build a rapport with others. You know, learning where you fit into a larger system.
Well put. You met a lot of people you would otherwise never see.
Oh, exactly. You know, you meet people. It's the same thing as going to university, or even doing what I do now, which is the history. You meet people that you probably wouldn't have the good fortune of meeting otherwise.
Yeah.
Which I think is exciting.
I like the fact that you keep looking at things and try to improve on them. Like when you're doing the history hunt,
Right.
you have found technology that helps presentation. You've helped with the museum, the archives, by bringing in some of the films up to date, the way we handle them. Can you just comment on that?
Well, I have, and I think this probably goes just generally for history, I have a real curiosity about things. Also a determination. You know, I smile when you say about the technology, because you know, I took classes to learn how to do editing of videos, which of course I'm going to have to do with this. And but I was determined to learn this. You know, if you're going to do something, you might as well learn how to do it and do it correctly.
Good for you. Well, it shows in the presentations you're doing that you've done a deeper way to bring it along. Okay, then look at some of the stuff you've been doing. And there's a few things here. I think we'll just mention one or two and you can go from there. Presentation and seminars.
Yeah, probably, you know, if you want to call this a career, I started doing presentations and seminars back, I guess, in the mid-'70s. Again, you know, I mentioned earlier that my Uncle George used to do presentations, and he used to have me do the research, and so quite often I used to work through with him, you know, how he was going to do this. And as well, because like most people, I was terrified of getting up in front of people. I was determined to overcome that, and one of the things that I did was to volunteer in school, both in high school and then in university, to get up and do short presentations. You know, with the idea that I had to learn how to do this.
Okay, great. Video nights, vintage video.
Yeah, well, that was a you know, an idea that was given to me by a couple people around town who thought that, you know, I had a collection of videos that either people had given me or that I had taped. Particularly, you know, I started early doing the oral history interviews, and people said, you know, you should just rent a spot. In this case, it was a library, and we used to show these videos.
I remember them well.
People loved it because in many cases the videos, you know, like the old Santa Claus parades, you know, they could see either themselves or their grandchildren or their children as children standing there in the wonderment of looking at Santa Claus. And I think one of the things that I learned over the years is people like to see themselves. It's one of the reasons why I think after you convince people to do the oral history interview, I think people generally like you know, the experience, because, you know, they get the opportunity to see themselves on camera. I think most people like that, and also too, I think that it gives them an opportunity to leave something behind for, you know, the other people, because of course, unfortunately, as I referred to before, we're not here forever.
No, we're not.
And I always thought it was such a shame that you know, we lose our history because we're not quick enough to ask people that simple question. You know, what do you remember?
Yeah. Well, you got me in an interview in let's see, that'd be 2014. And
Yes,
even though I made
and
a couple
that
of
was
slips,
good. Yeah, well,
like wading a soapbox derby and stuff like that. Anyway, oral history interviews, very interesting interviews.
yeah, I would, if there's people watching this, one of the things I would urge people to do is to think seriously about letting us film them. As they say, it's such a shame, whether it be your grandparents, your parents, or even your siblings. After they're gone, to think, boy, I wish I had asked this question. I wish I had asked that question. And I can honestly say, from personal experience, there's nothing like sitting down and watching a video and hearing somebody's voice and seeing their smile, and they're gone. But it takes you back. So I wish we get more people. It isn't easy to get people to sit down. You get so many people who will say, I have absolutely nothing to add to the world, and yet, I can truly say that I've sat down with people who insisted for the 20 minutes before we taped them that they had nothing to say, and then I've forgotten to ask the questions because I'm so enthralled with their story about, and I use the example, I know I've told you before, I used the example of the lady, she was in her mid-80s, and it was just a simple question. You never know what it's going to be. It was a simple question: what was your first job? And it turned out that the lady, her first job was a burlesque dancer in Toronto. Her next job was a pastor at a church, which was quite interesting. But it was fascinating. Same person, and she had explained to me that you could make approximately $1.99 an hour as a domestic, and she was making upwards of $8 to $9 dancing, and she thought it was a no-brainer that this was.
Oh, makes sense.
It's also where she met her husband.
Walking tours, which I've been part of, and I've enjoyed them very much.
Well, one of the pluses of it is it got me out there in the fresh air and gave me an opportunity to walk. So I was able to lose a little weight, but I think there's nothing like being part of a dynamic of walking with people who are all interested in a topic, and standing in front of a building or a location, historic location. I don't talk very much about the buildings themselves, but I talk about the people that I remember, or the people that have participated in that particular location. Because to me, history is all about people, not so much about old buildings.
No, that's where George Boosby was involved, more with buildings.
Yes, my Uncle George was an architect and engineer. He loved old buildings, and this is sort of kind of his love. One of the advantages that we had when we did work together is, I think, in a sense, we did influence each other. He gave me sort of an insight into the wonders of old buildings, and in return, hopefully, I think I got him interested in the incredible people that inhabited those old buildings.
Good to hear. You post articles and pictures of local history, heritage.
Well, it's interesting. I got involved in writing an article, a weekly article for Newmarket Today. They approached me. I had coincidentally attempted to get into the era and to a number of other local publications, and they at that time didn't see a need. They didn't think there was a demand. Newmarket Today, which is an online newspaper, were looking, I guess, for something. They had just started, and so they were looking for something. They gave me the opportunity, and it turned out fairly well. And because they're part of a syndicate right across the country and in a number of states in the United States, my articles get a fairly good area to travel.
This is since 2018 when you started.
Yes, 2018. I can tell you exactly. It was the first week of August of 2018.
Okay. Well, they were incredible. Mind you, I'm really focused on history, but you're getting through to a lot of people, and some of these people are in BC, Alberta.
Well, they're all over the place. I mean, one of the things that people from Newmarket have through necessity or work or whatever, have left Newmarket and have gone elsewhere in the world. And, I guess the furthest I ever got a message was somebody from the UK who had said that they had read, they had started reading my articles and they enjoyed them. I think the key thing is that, and I'm obviously still learning after these years, but the key thing I think is that people like the memories. They may not be entirely enthralled with each and every weekend's article, but I think they like the memories. I think what I do is I stir, in their heart, memories of when they were growing up, of things that happened to them. What's really interesting, my last set of articles was on Teen Town, and since the first one came out, I've been busily sending people emails to connect with old friends because I mentioned them in an article, and they go, boy, I should get a hold of that person.
You are the in-between for that. You're passing on.
Yes, because I do think it's important that you keep in touch with people and share memories. I mean, there's nothing better about history. History is much more than a subject. What it is you have a common history with other people, and this binds you together forever.
Yeah. Well, I know you reach a lot of people, and Teen Town is one of my favorites, partly because of our family involvement, but that took a long time to get together too. You had to work out a lot of angles and check.
Yeah, well, that was interesting. It's a number of articles I've done. The doing the article was, I guess, a little bit easier because of the fact that I was doing the research, and, so I could sort of focus my research. The difficulty with Teen Town is that it seemed like everybody I interviewed, everybody I talked to, thought that they started it and that they were the reason that we had Teen Town. And that, of course, is a dilemma for me because one of the things I never want to do in an article is not give due coverage to somebody who deserves coverage. And of course, probably everybody who's involved with Teen Town, because it was such a success, deserved coverage.
That went on 25 years, right?
It did. Well, I guess 1953 it started, and it creeped into the 1970s. So it spanned a long time.
Yeah, that was great. And you had great bands.
Well, this is what people don't realize is that we got a lot of. First of all, Newmarket was part of a circuit that had as its center, of course, Toronto, but they went as far as Barrie to the north and all through the GTA. So we were on a circuit. So we used to get people, either they were on their way up, or they were trying out a new, a new show. Yeah. And we would get them. I mean, we got a number of people where we signed a contract, and then they got news very soon after that that their first song was all over the radio. But to give these people credit, they honored their contract and came and played here.
Wow, you still came.
So, and in the future, I'm looking at doing an article about the people that came to the local high schools and to the Compass restaurant in the plaza. Either came up here to rehearse for a Toronto show or came up here to entertain us.
When you write these articles, well, we'll get back to that in a minute. That's good. I think that's one of the most important things you've done. It's got through to so many people. And all good talk, overall, all good topics. You keep mixing it up a bit.
Yeah, well, I tried to mix it up, and no, I'm.
You've got 6,000 people at least with the Teen Town first, 7,000 maybe.
Yeah, well, probably. We some do very, very well. Some a little bit later, but I guess every topic isn't to everybody's interest. And the key is, I smile a little bit about this. But the key is to mention lots of people's names.
Okay.
People don't like to admit it. Everybody likes to see their name in an article. And same as everybody, as I said before, likes to see names that they recognize, and this prompts them to go, I should give that person a call.
Good point. And you got pictures. And those pictures, that's documenting a lot.
Well, I probably should give due credit to the people who send me pictures. I mean, you know,
Okay.
people have been most gracious in sending me pictures. You know, for the Teen Town, you know, I've got a hold of a lady got a hold of me and told me that her husband was in a group called the Emeralds.
Yeah.
It was the house band for Teen Town, and you know, on their own, I think they had a fairly successful career,
Mhm.
and they sent me photos from that they had
Yeah.
from back then. So you know, I've been very fortunate in people contributing. So you know, I get a little nervous when people say, "Well, look what you've done." This is a group effort,
Yeah.
you know.
Good.
And of course, you know, with these interviews, where would I be without you as our main interviewer?
Well, I'm sure there was others before me, you know. But yeah, no, that's been great. You do volunteering at different places, the museum, Newmarket Historical Society, Heritage Newmarket. Yeah, and
Well, you know, the thing that I'm most proud of is that the proceeds from our walks and our talks go to local charities, and I think you know,
Oh, yeah, good point.
this is what I'm most proud of. I mean, you know, as far as volunteering, one does what one can. I mean, if you've got a talent, and
Yeah.
you know, if they can find a talent in me, then you know, they can make use of it. But I'm very happy about the fact that the money that we raise from the various functions that we put on, you know, we're able to turn back into the community, to local charities. You know, we have coming up in February, we have, again, we're involved in the In From the Cold Walk. I'm particularly happy about it because it's unique. I mean, you know, most people are walking as a huddled mass for 5 kilometers. Some people talk to people, some people not, just thinking, boy, I'm cold. Whereas mine, every year we pick a unique historic walk, and
I
we
love
do
the one you're doing this year.
yeah, we're doing it. This year we're doing the military camp. A lot of people
Beautiful.
don't know anything about the military camp. A lot of
Wow.
people don't know that there's a subdivision where these houses are all, or a lot of them are old army barracks. So yeah,
Wow.
so I think it should be very interesting. You know, we don't get hundreds, but what is interesting is that usually we raise as much as some of the large groups. You know, we've raised, I think the most we ever raised was $3,000, but
Wow.
you know, we're generally in the 1,500 to 2,000 range,
And that's in the middle of winter.
and that's in the middle of winter.
That
It
is
can be
cold.
cold. I'm hoping
I remember
that this
that.
year it's not too cold.
There's one that you picked up on lately. That's Pickering College radio show.
Yes, that
That's
was
neat.
something new. Somebody that I had known in the past, and they came along and they had decided that they wanted to do their own radio show. And I think to be honest, they were probably looking for a filler. But it turns out that people enjoyed. You know, it's very casual. We talk about, we jump from topic to topic, and hopefully people
Can
learn a
people
little
tune?
bit.
Can people tune into it? locally?
Yeah, it's on FM. It's Pickering College has its own FM station. It's a student-run station. Yeah, amazing facilities,
Okay.
and
Maybe that's neat.
I usually post on social media.
Oh.
You know, when
You know,
when I've appeared and what we've talked about.
You know, the little channel for that, which FM.
Oh.
I can.
No, you know, that's funny. I can't remember. I know it's CHOP, Chop.
Chop.
Chop
Okay.
FM.
Well, that'll help.
Yeah,
That's good.
and it's you know, I don't think you can get it in BC, but
No.
you can certainly get it in the GTA.
I'm sure of that. You did a thing a few years ago. We had wheelchairs and crutches,
Yeah.
and that was a neat project. It's too bad it didn't continue.
Well, you know,
Hard in a way though.
I probably didn't do my due diligence in that. You know, I looked at it and I thought, well, you know, nobody seems to be doing this. This would be a great idea to do.
Yeah.
And then I discovered why other people weren't doing it, because you know, in the world that we find ourselves in, people need to have all of these different levels of insurance.
Yes.
And you know, I think we did it for about 5 or 6 years, and then one day a lady came along. She was unhappy with the fact that the wheel didn't work properly on the wheelchair that she got for free. She would have probably had to pay about $500 or $600 or more for it, but she got it for free. But she was unhappy with the fact that her wheelchair didn't work, and you know, we offered to fix it, and she in turn wanted to sue me. And at that point, we decided, or I decided, that I needed to go and check out how much it would cost to get insurance, and I had no idea how much insurance cost, and it just wasn't feasible to do. So my lawyer said, you know, keep it open and let people communicate among themselves. So it's still up. People can still go on.
Okay.
It's called Free Wheelchairs and Walkers.
Oh.
And free loan wheelchairs and walkers. Still active. People are exchanging. You know, somebody has a wheelchair they know, or a walker they no longer need. They post it. People can get it for free.
Okay.
And the only difference really is that I'm not the middleman. I'm not picking them up and delivering them. And
Well, that's
and
probably
it's kind of sad. But
Yeah.
you know, this is just what happens nowadays. You know, we've gotten into an overly legal world.
How has this place changed, this world, or since you were a kid? Have you noticed much change?
Well, I certainly do notice change. I think what comes out in my articles and probably in my presentations is that I have a soft spot for Newmarket when it was smaller. Now I know there's people out there who say you can't stop growth and whatever, but you know, one of the highlights always used to be to go shopping downtown. You know, because you're out for hours and you'd meet probably, you know, half of the people that lived in Newmarket at that time. People didn't seem to have the difficulty of stopping and talking, and
That's so true.
that was probably because we didn't have social media.
Yeah.
Now, you know, I can go out, go downtown, or I can go certainly to the mall, and probably, you know, it's very unusual that I see somebody I know, which I find very sad. I mean, you know, I think that.
We used to know everybody.
Yeah, and I think too, there's a quality of life that comes with living in a smaller place.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure that you could capture that in a large metropolitan area, but I think it would be, you know, more difficult.
Yeah.
And I don't think, you know, with social media, I think people also don't communicate one-on-one anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, I would submit that it probably is a lost art. You know, communicating.
I remember people in verandas all the time.
Yeah.
And enjoying them, meeting the people as they're going by.
Oh yeah.
It was amazing.
It was, but again, as I say, you know, Newmarket. You know, when I was a child, I think Newmarket was about 38 or 4,200 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, big difference to 80 or 90,000.
Big time.
And but again, you know, I'm not anti-growth.
Yeah.
It's just this misconception that people who are into local history are anti-growth, and that certainly is not the case. If that was the case, then probably historians would have told the Greeks, you know, don't move on. Let's just keep all of your old temples. That's good enough for us. So, you know, obviously that's part of progress, but that's the reason why I think that while you can replace buildings, you can never replace the people. You can never replace the feeling and of the people that you knew, that you grew up with.
That was a very warm place to be.
Yes.
You felt like you're part of the group.
You're part of something, exactly.
Yeah. You go home now, you open the car door automatically, you take your car in, close the door, that's it.
And you seal yourself off in the world.
Yeah.
That's true.
We also had a lot of incredible characters in Newmarket, especially around the Main Street. I don't know if we can say we have the same number anymore, but my goodness, we had our real assortment.
Well, I think there's still characters out there. I think you asked about things that have changed. This isn't really a historic observation. I think it's just an observation at random, but I think it's no longer acceptable to be a character. From when I was a child, being a character was
Yeah,
acceptable. Now everybody seems to want to be exactly like everybody else.
good point. Another thing, when you write all this stuff, you're probably gonna get wrinkles from people, one reason or another, but it could be you had everything right, but it's just the way it comes out, they're not happy with it.
Yeah, well, I think too, because you're talking about memories.
Okay,
You know, your memory might be different from somebody else's.
Okay.
I remember when I wrote and we've talked about this ourselves, when I wrote my history of the Orangemen
yes,
here in Newmarket. You know, I had people who felt that this was the golden age of Newmarket, and all I was trying to express was that Newmarket was very much a Protestant town.
yeah,
And it was extremely difficult for our Catholic ancestors to get a stronghold in Newmarket and to establish a life.
yeah. That makes sense.
So, but again, you know, people, when you go back into history, it's not always pleasant.
Yeah,
The past is not always roses and you know
yeah,
and puppy dogs. It sometimes can be very scary. When I wrote the series of articles on how we treated the indigenous people in the
Oh.
residential schools,
Yeah.
you know, I took that on. You know, in fairness, there were people who said maybe this wasn't a topic to cover, but I thought it was important to talk about and just simply state the facts.
good,
You know, and let people make up their own mind
okay,
about it.
all right. Well, you certainly have a passion and a love for Newmarket, there's no question about that. And that's a huge contribution here, so keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the interview.
And thank you, Rick, you did great, and finally we got you on the front.
Yes.
Thanks for your time and cooperation in this.
Thanks a
That's
lot,
great.
sir.
Okay, we'll be in touch.